Welcome back to the Piping Pastor. Well, I got the mic set up back and found everything, so I thought it might be time to do another video with some proper sound. Today we'll be continuing our Poetry in the Bible series by taking a look at Thomas Hardy. Well, today I'm doing some Joe's Blend from Mylan Tobacco. It's a wonderful blend. If you've never had it, definitely worth picking some up. You can order and they will ship. And it is a bit moist, so it takes a little bit of drying time, but wonderful flavor. I know that Parsimonious has been doing some reviews of some of the aromatics from Mylan, and I have had some of their aromatics, which are good, but I'm not really an aromatic person, and so the Joe's Blend is great though. It was I first heard about it from Onion, and I got a little bit of it a few months ago, and then before we moved out, I was like, well, definitely gonna take some of this with me. I got a couple other blends from there as well that I haven't tried yet. Pardon me as I reach. Their Balkan blend and Centenary. It's right there, but I'm gonna be getting into these here pretty soon as well, just to try those out. I got a fair bit of the Joe's Blend because I know I was going to keep it with me, but I'll give those a go, and I'll be sure to share my thoughts on those too. But I thought this would be a good one to read just now because it has to deal with hope. And for those of you who are familiar with Thomas Hardy's work, you probably wouldn't think of him as a very hopeful writer. He can be a little dark. But I want to read this poem to you, but I want to kind of turn it on its head a little bit when we think about the interpretation. So without further ado, this is Yuletide in a Younger World. We believed in high days then, and could glimpse at night on Christmas Eve imminent oncomings of radiant revel, doings of delight. Now we have no such sight. We had eyes for phantoms then, and at bridge or stile on Christmas Eve, clear beheld those countless ones who had crossed it, crossed again in file, such as ceased long while. We liked divination then, and as we homeward wound on Christmas Eve, we could read men's dreams within them spinning, even as wheels spin round. Now we are blinker bound. We heard still small voices then, and in the dim serene of Christmas Eve caught the far-time tones of fire-filled prophets, long on earth unseen. Can such ever have been? It's kind of a poem about a loss of innocence, I guess you would say, which kind of like a loss of hope, basically saying, and he's speaking in this poem, essentially putting it out there as an individual recalling younger days during Christmas and how much they looked forward to it and the spiritual nature of it, and the hope that came with Christmas and the joy that came with Christmas. And then as the person's gotten older, and he's saying we, as in we people, have gotten older, that hope kind of dissipates and reality sets in. We become more concerned with the doings of life, and we become jaded to any kind of joyful, spiritual nature, of Christmas, right? And it's kind of an analogy for like the world progressing. Like the world used to be very, very much more spiritual, and from his perspective, the world has grown and matured, and we no longer look at those things. Those are like childish things. It's like we didn't understand because we didn't have science, we didn't have the Enlightenment, and there's a loss there. But he doesn't really say that it's a negative loss. It's just like, really, do we really think that way? as a race of people, did we ever really think that way? Aren't we better off with this kind of jaded scientific view? And in this, I say no, of course, because there is a basis for all life and all truth, and it is the spiritual. I was having a conversation recently with a young person who's struggling with their identity right now, and I said the worst thing you can do when you're trying to figure out your identity as a young person is looking at YouTube and videos and all these other different things like that, and all these things that the world is telling you to be, because the world will tell you to be something different all the time. And there is no hope in that. There's no hope in that, because you're never going to achieve that which the world tells you to be, because it's different today than it will be 10 years from now. Your identity, you'll constantly be chasing after something that you cannot attain. And that's a hopeless pursuit. Chasing after the wind, as we read in Ephesians. Or sorry, not Ephesians. In Ecclesiastes. It's a chasing after the wind. But the hope that we actually see, the hope that we actually pursue, the Bible tells us that faith isn't hope is hope in things unseen, because we can't necessarily see, in that we can't scientifically deduce the things that we have faith in, the things that we need to have faith in. Those things are beyond our measurable sciences that we have. Don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of science. I did a lot of my graduate work in science and religion. I have friends and colleagues in various sciences. I'm a big fan of science, but science can't answer those deep-seated questions, and science can't give us that hope. It can give us excitement about progress and solving problems and things like that. But at the end of the day, science cannot give us hope. Not in the things that really matter anyway. So while Hardy is writing about how we used to think of these things, these divine things, and we used to chase these phantoms as young people, and Christmas time used to be magical and spiritual, and it no longer is. He says, can such things ever have been? Yeah, they were. And it's not a loss of innocence based on the fact that we're becoming more intellectually astute. It's a loss of innocence because we're being distracted by the things of this world. We're being pulled away from the true source of life and truth and honesty and love and beauty. And we're being pulled away, distracted by all these measurable aspects of reality. So we can look at a poem like that and say, yeah, it's sad. It's like growing up. All the magic goes away. It doesn't have to. Magic is still there. The love and the spirituality is still there. We just have to make sure we look for it. And I know 13 Pipes started talking about language in his Bible translations video. If you haven't seen that, check that out. And I made a comment on that, and he and I kind of commented back and forth. And I think he's going to expand on that. And I think that's another excellent vehicle for discussion on this, because the dumbing down of language, which he'll get into, I'm not going to steal his thunder, is another way that has been robbed from us. That deep spiritual nature of reality has been robbed from us as well. But it's something that we can only have taken from us if we allow it to be taken. So don't lose your hope. Don't lose that chasing after that spirituality, because that's what gives you the truth. Well, I'm going to turn back to my Joe's blend here, and I think my next pipe I'm going to get into that one of those other packets. So looking forward to the Balkan blend. I really dig Balkans, and I can't wait to see how they did there. So once I get that in there, I will I'll give you all my opinion of it. Anyway. In the meantime, I hope you have a lovely week. As always, happy reading.